Indeed, in their pursuit of excessive surpluses, it has been in the interest of Liberal governments to suppress housing stock and exacerbate the housing affordability crisis that New South Wales finds itself in. The New South Wales Treasury is addicted to stamp duty, it has to be said. The Treasurer has been out this week boasting of the cash reserves she has accumulated. Not only has this been done by overtaxing working-class people on the one hand, but it is sustained by cuts to vital services and government programs on the other. We have a skills shortage in New South Wales, and the state government cuts TAFE. In turn, employers complain of a lack of workers for skilled trades. In response to this, the federal Liberal government approves ever more skilled migration to fill the gaps in the skill set of our domestic workforce. This in turn puts more pressure on the already scarce housing stock. Increased demand for scarce housing inflates prices, which in turn adds to the value of stamp duty receipts at the Office of State Revenue. In the meantime, this government, the Baird government, barrels ahead for no other reason than pig-headed ideology with selling off public housing stock at Millers Point. They now want to double down on that disgraceful legacy by turfing out the last remaining residents in the Sirius building at The Rocks. So after flogging off publicly owned social housing, they want to come in here to this place and tell us they have the solution. They will pay the private sector to create new housing stock to make up for the shortfall they created when they sold it off. They will pay the private sector to create new housing stock to make up for the absurdity of a housing market that year on year outpaces wages growth. The housing affordability crisis is forcing first home buyers to become first home landlords. The only homes that young people can afford to buy are those they must then rent out to others. This in turn puts upward pressure on rents as investors look to equalise their rental income and their investment mortgage costs. The whole housing market, both for renters and buyers, continues to grow unabated, and it is working-class people on low and middle incomes who are the victims. Speaker, currently there are around 105,000 homeless people in Australia and approximately 28,000 of them live in New South Wales. More than half are under the age of 35. Instead of building additional public housing, the government has chosen to leave it to the developers. Yet when it comes to affordable housing and social justice, the market has failed to put people before profits and deliver housing stock that is affordable to renters and to first home buyers. The bread and butter efforts of my electorate office's work is assisting constituents of mine who are experiencing housing crisis, as well as people facing homelessness or destitution as a result of ever-increasing housing costs. It is one of the major reasons people visit my office in crisis: lack of affordable housing. According to Shelter New South Wales is currently facing a shortage of 100,000 affordable dwellings for households on low income. It is estimated that to address the social housing shortfall, the New South Wales government must provide 20,000 affordable new dwellings over the next 10 years. This just goes to show how completely inadequate and unsatisfactory the package on offer from the Baird government really is. The expert advice to the government says build 20,000 homes. Mike Baird's response: make do with 3,000. In addition to increasing the availability of public and social housing stock, the Baird government must increase funding for maintenance and repairs to ensure that public and social housing tenants enjoy timely repairs and regular maintenance of their property. There is a growing gap between the costs associated with maintaining public housing and the FACT's maintenance budget. There is a large backlog of remedial works across this state. One prospective social housing tenant in my electorate was referred to a vacant Housing New South Wales property recently. He was appalled when he got there. The windows were boarded up, cupboards were hanging off the walls, carpets and walls were filthy and the grass was knee-high. He didn't feel that this was a safe or fit place for him and his family, and this is not an isolated incident. Speaker, the Labor Party will be supporting this bill and this program, but only because it would be reckless of us to oppose it on the basis of its absolute inadequacy. It is true that something, however inadequate, is better than nothing. So we accept that this bill should be supported, but I believe we need a radical rethink around housing affordability in this state. This morning, at an event facilitated by the Sydney Alliance, I met with young people, students, workers and housing crisis services. The Sydney Alliance, one example of community who are campaigning for increased supply of social and genuinely affordable housing in New South Wales, as well as legislation to level the playing field for young first home buyers to enter the housing market, were out talking to parliamentarians. The Sydney Alliance's event showcased the remarkable efforts of a young student to bring the issues of housing affordability and homelessness into focus. Arya Berkovich is a 10-year-old student of Kesetorak College in Dover Heights. Over the past month, Arya has been working on a very special school project, the construction of a prototype shelter for homeless people. Arya hopes that one day it may be used to assist people in need, but in the meantime he wants to use his shelter to raise awareness of the problems of homelessness and housing affordability in our community. This is commendable and impressive work, but it begs the question, why has it fallen to a school student to demonstrate to government how unsustainable the current housing situation has become? The gutting of public housing stock in the inner city and the mistreatment of public housing tenants is not the answer. Likewise, this legislation is not an answer. It's a start, phase one, but not enough. The problem is that it is very likely this represents the extent of the government's efforts and their interests in this area. They will pat themselves on the back because they have found yet another way to transfer taxpayers' money to the private sector. The system they propose is a fund of $1.1 billion that will pay dividend that in turn will be used to fund development of new housing stock. They have no intention of becoming the owners or operators of any new social housing stock. What does this mean for these homes at the conclusion of the 25-year agreement contracts? In terms of the life cycle of a state government and the likely lifespan of this very hopeless state government, 25 years is a long time, but it is shorter than the standard 30-year mortgage. So we are talking about housing which could very soon, relative to mortgaged homes and even longer useful life of a dwelling, end up back in private hands. What guarantees are there that the private operators of these new dwellings will not seek to capitalise on their investment in 25 years by flogging them off? So, Speaker, I support this bill, but I don't for 1 minute accept that this legislation represents an adequate solution to the absolute crisis in housing affordability that grips this state. We must do more.